Hi, I'm Mark from Kicker, and in this video I'm going to show you how the hand history picker feature in Kicker software works. So on the main screen it's here. We select it now. It takes you to this view where you've got a whole list of hands and a bunch of filters at the top. All of these hands are from hand histories that you've imported where you as the hero were involved in the hand and at least got to see a flop. They're the hands that get pulled through. And you can see we've got all kinds of stuff that you can look at here. You've got hero cards, villain cards if they're known, i.e. if it got to showdown, whether you as the hero were the pre-flop aggressor, whether you as the hero were in position, the pot size on the flop, the hero stack size on the flop, the villain stack size on the flop, the pre-flop action, using this kind of encoding you might have seen in other pieces of poker software. For example, that's raise call, that's call raise, check call, bet raise, and so on. Then you've got what the flop was, with the cards color coded, again using a fairly standard color coding: black for spades, blue for diamonds, green for clubs, red for hearts. You've then got the flop action, the turn card, the turn action, the river card, and the river action. I'll come back to river decision pot odds in a minute. You've also got the amount the hero won in big blinds. You've got the number of players that were involved at the start of the hand. You've got the hero position, the villain position, and the date that the hand was played. And also over here, we've got the effective pre-flop stack size. So this allows you to have a look at your hand histories that you've imported into Kicker. You can sort them on some of these columns, so you could sort them into the amount the hero won, for example, or the date that the hand was played, or the pot size on the flop. Anything that's numeric, really, you can sort on. You can even sort on the pre-flop action if you wanted to isolate all the times that there were calls that you called on the pre-flop. What we also have are all of these filters. So when I came into this screen, by default, it's pulled in 500 hands. Your options are 100, 500, or 2,500 that you can pull in at any one time. But it's filtered by the criteria that are in here. So it's going to be pulling in hands that were 9-handed at the start of the hand, with a minimum effective stack size pre-flop of 30 and a maximum effective stack size pre-flop of 500. It's just saying the hero could be in either in position or out of position. It's not stipulating a specific position for the hero or the villain. And the minimum amount the hero won was minus 500 big blinds, and the maximum was plus 500. In other words, pretty much every hand. You can also filter on dates as well. At the moment, we've just got all dates checked. You can also then determine how you want it sorted. So when this goes to the database and pulls the information out, it's pulling it out by the amount that the hero won, largest to smallest. But there are other criteria you can use here: date hand played, amount hero bet, hero stack size, effective pre-flop stack size. You can choose any of those, and you can say the top 100, the top 500, the top 2,500. So this will help you isolate down the kind of hands that you want to look at. We also have this feature here, this tag filter. At the moment, none of these hands are tagged, but a little bit like in other pieces of poker software you might have seen. For example, I might want to highlight these hands, and I'm going to say tag selected hands. And at the moment, I haven't defined any tags, so I'm just going to put in tag 1. You can literally put anything in here. I say tag 1, you can see that all of these hands are now tagged as tag 1. And that then means that if I decided that I wanted to filter using tags, I could come in here and I could check that checkbox for I want to filter on tag. I can pick tag 1, repopulate hands, which goes back to the database and repopulates the hands. And now it's only pulling out the hands that I tagged as tag 1. This contains tag section is just if, for example, I was to come in here and I was to tag those selected hands as, so I won't say tag 1, I'll say tag 12. This will demonstrate this feature now. So I've said tag 12, that means we've got tag 1 and tag 12. If we come in here and just have the checkbox for tag and we say tag 1 and say repopulate hands, it will just pull through tag 1. But if we check contains tag, it's going to look for any tag that contains tag 1. Which includes tag 12, because of course tag 12 includes tag 1 at the start and then there's a 2 at the end. So this allows you to put in any tags you like, and you could label these tags in such a way as it allows you to filter down and include other tags when you use contain tags and so on. It gives you the complete freedom to do that however you like. I'm just going to turn the tag filter off now and just repopulate back from the database again. So we have all of these hands, and obviously it's useful to be able to have a comb through these hands and have a look at information related to the hands. But what's really useful about this feature is that it allows you to pick a hand. So let's say we've got this hand here where we've got the hero cards and the villain cards, and the pre-flop action was raise call. So if I now double click on this hand, what it does is it creates me a new scenario, and it puts the flop on, and it puts the hand that I as the hero had. It already pre-populates this information. I'm not going to go any further through this feature because there's a separate video. If in the software you click on that button, find out more about this feature from the scenario screen, it will show you how to use the scenario. But what the hand history picker allows you to do is pre-populate a scenario, and then as you go through the scenario, it will tell you all of the actions that you and the villain took. So you can follow the scenario through, picking the hands that you would have carried on with, the hands you think the villain would have carried on with, and play the scenario through using the exact play that was played in the real hand. Or you can deviate from that if you like. You might get to the turn and decide you want to see what might have happened if you'd have checked rather than bet, for example, at which point, once you deviate from the scenario, it will no longer be able to track what happened because obviously you've moved away from what happened in the real hand. But it does allow you to do that. Another useful feature that you can use from the hand history picker is this one, and this is where I'm going to come back to the river decision pot odds. I'm going to just sort on river decision pot odds in from highest to lowest. What this is if you, as the hero, were on the river and were facing a river bet and had to make a decision, this number is the pot odds you were facing. So you can see when it says 33 here, that basically means you were facing a pot size bet. Anything around 33, slightly below, slightly above, is roughly a pot size bet. If we get down to the ones that are around about kind of 25, that's where you, as the hero, faced a half pot bet. And obviously everywhere in between. But the reason why this is useful is because once you select a hand that has river decision pot odds that aren't zero, as in you did face a river decision where you had to decide whether you were going to call or fold or possibly raise, but this is most useful in the context of deciding whether to call, you have the pot odds information here. So I'm just going to pick one of these hands here. So I'm going to pick this hand here where hero had pocket eights. You can see when you select one of these hands where you had a decision, this button becomes available. Analyze selected hand with river player pool tendencies tool. And you've also got this checkbox underneath, include specific positions. I'm going to just ignore the checkbox for now. I'm going to select that button. What this does is it takes you to the player pool river tendencies screen, and it populates the board, so the full run out, and the hand that you had as the hero. And it has a stab at populating these filters. It's a little bit subjective exactly how these filters are populated, especially around the ranking information. And if you go too far in terms of populating these, you can end up with a sample size that's so small that it becomes very difficult, depending on how many hands you start with. But it has a stab. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this screen because there is a separate video. If in the software you click that button, it will show you a video that covers this feature in a lot more detail, and will explain all about the filters and the graphs that we're looking at here. The main point to take from this current video is that you can get to this screen and it will populate the information based on one of your actual hands, so that you can use this feature to try and analyze a specific situation that you found yourself in using the player pool information that you've imported into Kicker. So the filtering here works as you would expect. So let's say you want to look at all of the times when the hero was on the button nine-handed. So you just select button, repopulate hands, and then all of a sudden, all of the hands that come through are all times when the hero was on the button. Let's say you wanted to look at all the times the hero was on the button and the villain was in the small blind. Same sort of thing. You just select button and small blind, and now you can see we've got far fewer hands because obviously there aren't going to be huge numbers of times when you got to see a flop when you were on the button and the villain was in the small blind. At least in my data set, 9-handed. I haven't actually played that many 9-handed hands. I usually play 6-handed hands. You can sort by other amounts as well. Obviously, you can change any of these. You can be less specific. You could just say, well, times when the hero was in position rather than in a specific position. And as we've already talked about, we can do tags. If I just reset these, so we're back to lots of hands. So if we look at the dates, at the moment it's saying all dates. If you turn that off, it will then give you a range that you can decide to select. You can select today, yesterday, this month, this year. For this case here, I'm just going to go back a little bit because the hands I've uploaded are from a little while ago. We say from the 1st of January 2018, we populate, you can see it's only going to include hands that were played in 2018. And all of these filters can be combined together. So you can filter on position and date and tags and anything like that.